recording on Zoom.
Woohoo!
So yes. Okay, let me make sure my mic. This mic. Um, this is my Yeti mic. I heard so many good things about it that I just had to try it. It's not super expensive, but it's also not like the cheapest mic I heard.
Is that one of
But
the USB plug-in mics?
yeah, it is.
Those are
I like it. It's pretty awesome. Um, well, Chris, thanks for joining on the Corporatainment podcast. My first podcast ever. I think you're like the fourth person that I might have actually ever interviewed. So that's pretty cool. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I'm excited to have you because I'm trying to be where you are. You're the actor, and you're the one that made a career out of acting. Okay, sorry. I was turning on the camera from the other side. So yeah. So you're the actor and I'm trying to get like you and become like a full-time actor. So a lot of my questions are going to be geared towards like what should I be doing now to kind of put myself in a position to get work. So I guess my first question would be like I know when I was looking at your online presence and you have a very strong resume. I saw that you were in shows like Ask Dr. Julie, Wives and Knives, and Piggy Banks, and I guess like which shows were like your most like fun shows to work on?
I mean, my favorite show I've ever gotten to work on was actually written by a good friend that I took acting classes with, called Character Flaws, and that'll be coming out within the next like year or so. Uh, but it was a lot of fun because he kind of writes the character for you in mind. So it's always great when like an actor friend or a writer friend reaches out and says, "Hey, I wrote a part and I want you to play it because I thought of you." And I'm like, "Okay, this is great." So it's always great when someone writes a part for you and you don't need to audition. But I guess my favorite role that I've gotten to play where I've had to audition, it was for American Horror Story, and I got to play this frat bro that gets like hazed during like a 1980 frat night, like Hell House kind, not Hell House, Hell Week kind of thing, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That sounds super fun. Like, wow. Okay. That's awesome. And how did you meet your friend? Like, I guess like nowadays, how can people like network? Like, where did you meet your friend after all?
So networking is like a term that gets tossed around a lot because it can be very awkward if you try to just like go up to people and like network. I think the best way to network is to just make friends by taking acting classes or doing casting director workshops, or even just one friend I made, I just pulled her aside during acting class. I'm like, "Hey, you and I kind of look alike. Would you want to write like a short film together where we play like fraternal twins?" And we ended up doing that. So it's like, I think if you want to make friends and network in the acting world or any kind of like artist related world, you just need to find people that are doing the same thing you're doing and can push you to the next level, push you further, and just keep wanting to do projects with you. Like those are the kind of people I think would help you network better,
Right.
I guess.
Right,
Yeah.
that's really important, and I guess it's a lot easier to do that these days with everything being virtual. Everything being virtual means that you don't need to necessarily go to LA anymore to meet people. You can just do everything virtually through Skype or whatnot. So that's actually, I guess, some actionable advice that you can do now, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I can't even tell you how many like casting director workshops I've done where you get to see like the inside of a casting director's house because like you're doing the thing and they're like, this is my domain right here. I got like
I
this
love that
screen.
blue. Oh wait, is
Yeah,
it
yeah,
green
it's
or is
for
it
self
blue?
tapes. It's blue. I only use blue background for self tapes because blue is very pleasing to the eye. So I like statistically, if you have it on as a backdrop for a self tape audition, uh, people are gonna watch it and be like, "Oh, this is really nice."
Ooh, thank
Plus,
you.
it makes my eyes pop too.
It
So
does. I couldn't tell. I was like, does he have a green screen in his eyes? that it just the blue background just goes all the way through. Now I don't know. It was kind of a weird joke, but anyway.
Pops.
Yeah. So okay. So what is fertilings? Am I even pronouncing that right?
Uh, Close. It's fraternalings.
Fraternalings. Okay. Here we go. I'm messing
Like,
up
yeah.
names. So
Oh, it's all good.
so fraternalings. Tell me about that show. Did you write it?
So that, yeah, that's actually the show I co-wrote with a friend from the acting class. Her name's Carrie, and we created this world. It's a dark comedy. It's about a sociopath serial killer with depression,
Mm.
uh, reuniting with his like hyperactive deadbeat twin after being apart for like 25 years. So it's funny, but in like a very very dark, twisted kind of way.
Mm.
Very, we tried to do something with like very clever like dialogue. Like there's one scene that just takes place in a bathroom,
Hmm.
and because we were like, oh yeah, it'd probably take place in a bathroom, and it's like very awkward and I think very funny because it's we play these the really dry, awkward beats, and I think it just enhances the story. But yeah, that's what Fraternalings is. It's actually going out to the festivals right now. We just got into our first one, so uh, yeah, I know. I'm really excited. Yeah, it's in the Idlewild Film Festival
Wow.
for the uh, best short or best comedic or best dark comedy short. So we'll see what
That's
happens.
so awesome. Good luck. Good luck to you.
Thank
Like
you.
I'm looking forward to seeing it as well too when it's available for us to check out. So
Most
keep me
definitely.
in the loop because that would be dope to see.
I will. I will.
Now, like as a side question, I know you have a degree in science. So were you looking to
Hmm.
like go into that field before you decided to pursue acting and film and so forth? Like what made you get a degree in science after all?
So I actually, after high school, I wanted to go to an all arts school, and I submitted there. I got in, but then I found out how much it was going to be, so I ended up going to a state school and did the theater program there. And when I was there, I was a theater major for like the first 2 years,
Hmm.
and then I found out that the theater program was at like possibly going to get cut
Hmm.
because schools are cutting the arts and all that jazz. And actually, after I ended up leaving a year later, they end up cutting the arts
Oh
program. So
no.
yeah, it's really kind of sad. But they have a theater teacher still there who does like a few
Hmm.
classes. Her name's Ramona. She's awesome. I had her for a few classes, and she's like the costume designer, and it's yeah, she's really cool. But anyway, so I went to college to actually pursue like a theater degree, and my parents were like, you should be going for something else, and then like theater can be your plan B,
Yeah.
but you should have a plan A first. So I was like, okay. So like I ended up doing interdisciplinary studies with a concentration in recreation management and like physical fitness, and then like a minor in theater and a minor in communications. So it's like I was able to take everything I wanted, like all the acting classes, the directing classes, but like I still was able to get like a degree where I'm like, oh, this is a bachelor's of science, not a bachelor's of arts. Not saying like a BA doesn't mean anything
Yeah.
because I think it totally does, but like it's I think a BS degree holds up even better when you're like trying to submit to like jobs that aren't acting. But anyway, so that's what I yeah.
Yeah, it would seem like acting is more about like your resume, your experience, and just being there at the right place at the right time. More so
It
than like I
it
have
totally
a
is.
degree in it per se. I don't know necessarily. I'm sure the degree stands out, but I imagine that it would stand out more in the sense before you had a chance to network with people for the most part.
Yeah, I think unless you're trying to go for something like technical theater, um, I don't think you necessarily need a an arts degree. I mean, I think they're awesome, but like unless you're doing like set design or lighting design or you're out in the back, doing the audio up in the booth, uh, I don't think you necessarily need to have a theater arts degree. You could like take a minor and like do all the acting classes and stuff like that, but that's just me. Or you could just come to LA or do it through Zoom like we're doing and do acting classes that way. Like there's so many acting teachers I know that are doing Zoom classes, and I think it's great.
Okay, so If somebody did want to take some virtual acting classes, who are some teachers that you recommend?
The first two I would recommend, one is Fran from the Actors Workout Studio up in North Hollywood. Fantastic classes. He does strictly Meisner. If you don't know who Meisner is, he studied under Stanislavski, who's like the father of method acting. But Meisner, it's not method. It's more of like relating different. Trying to figure out the right way to word this. It's figuring out how to connect different emotions with made up stuff. So yeah, I know it sounds weird when you say it out loud, but like it works really well. So that's Meisner. It's like living under imaginary circumstances, truthfully, moment to moment. That's what they teach at the studio there, which I think is really great. And then my first acting teacher out here is the other one that I would suggest. His name is Doug Warhit. He offers a free audit class. Um, so you can literally just like hit him up, dougwarhit.com. Uh, like he has a website and everything. I think he's fantastic. He just takes every actor to the next level. Ooh, excuse me. And just really knows how to like get your best work out of you. He works on like character development, audition prep, uh, kind of like also like on a personal level too. Like he helps you. I mean, he helped me kind of like feel better about myself and like, yeah, you are trying as hard as you can. So it's like you can only focus on what you can control, and that's that, you know. So it's yeah, he just I don't know. He's like a really great mentor. I would say like he's more than an acting coach, and everyone I've ever talked about with him or about him has said like the same things. Like he's a great teacher and like he's really there to help you out.
So it sounds like you kind of got lucky to find somebody super awesome, but like with there being so many options
Mm-hmm.
to choose from, what are some things that someone should look out for when they're choosing an acting coach or acting class? Because now everything's online, so it's like, is it this? Are they essentially like the same, or is it more of like, uh, I don't know, like you know, can I go on YouTube and find somebody that's really good, or should they be recommended, or what are some tips that you have for anyone that's thinking like, I want to find somebody, but they don't really the person you recommend might not be available. So how would they go
Yeah.
about researching?
I think, I mean, the best way that I've ever found any acting coaches is I've gone on acting websites like Facebook or like casting networks or like anything, and I've researched like acting coaches. But like, what works for me might not work for you. But what I think is good about an acting coach and finding the right one for you is I think you should one make sure that you can audit their class. If they just want money up front, they're probably not for you and they're just looking for a cash grab. Uh, which every acting like class I've ever taken, I've always gotten to audit. Um, so it's like one, make sure there's an audit available so you can make sure it's right for you. Two, and I think the most important thing, do they make you feel uncomfortable? And when I say that, I don't mean like do they make you uh like scare you in like that way. I mean like do you think they are going to push you in a way that no one else is going to push you, including yourself? And I always ask myself that question anytime like I go to a place. And then number three, after the audit, like does it feel right? Because I mean some things just like like when you're in a relationship and you find like the right person. Like I've been married now for over 5 years. We've been together for over 11. uh and we met in high school. It's like things just when you know, and it just clicks. It's like the same thing with an acting teacher or a teacher in school. You just when you know, you know.
Um, that's recording. Okay, great. Need to make sure everything was up and everything was working. Um, okay, so the next question to ask you is a question from the previous interviewee. And that is, what is important to you? It could be a thought, it could be a person, it could be a passion. What is the most important thing to you, Chris?
I think authenticity. Authenticity. Yeah, sorry. I said it wrong. Authenticity. I think being yourself and just being true to what you believe in and standing up for that. I think that's yeah, I think that's what's important to me. I mean, I could say family because family is and friends they are, but like I think finding out who you are and standing up for yourself and what you believe in, I think that's the most important thing to me. I think acting is like it totally relates to acting because you want to be as truthful as possible to the character and to yourself and the overall vision of the writer, director, producer, all the people, and you want it to be as good as possible. So yeah, authenticity.
I heard a quote by Bill Duke, and he said, when you are hired to play a role, they're not hiring you to act the character. They expect you to become them. And I think that was the strongest quote for me to really understand what acting is you become that character. And once I kind of flipped on that mindset, when I start doing little interviews here and there, I always become that character. And I'm like, oh, now I see why people take these acting classes and learn these different skills, because you got to really go to a certain part in your mind, depending, no matter how you feel right now in the moment.
Oh yeah, and like I think one thing, this was actually from Doug. Uh, if you write down like 10 actions. This is a Stella Adler thing. If you write down 10 actions in each scene that you have, like say the short film you're in has like 4 scenes you're in, write
Hmm.
down 10 actions you can do to get what you want in the scene. And then eventually you might not do any of them, but it's in your head. Same thing with like an inner dialogue, your ID. Write down like what you're thinking in the scene so that way it's like, oh, I don't even need to think about the lines. If I'm in it and I'm like focused on my partner, the line will come to me and I'm like already thinking like the character. Like that's all these little tricks you can do in a
I'm a little confused. Are you talking about me as the person, or are you talking about me as the character?
you as both. Cause like when you create a
Mm.
character, it's not like you as a character or you as you. It's you're taking you and you're taking the character and you're merging them together into one. Like you are becoming the character, but it's still you. Like only you can bring what you have to a character.
Mm, beautiful. My last question for you is, what is a question that you'd like to ask the next interviewee?
Cool. I'm actually going to steal this from a podcast because
Ooh.
yeah, I a lot of acting podcasts out there. So, the question I would like to ask is: do you believe acting chose you, or you chose it?
Beautiful. Now, what if the next person is not an actor? Then what would you ask them?
I would ask them the same thing, but I would rephrase it as like, "Hey, do you think you so like if you're like an electrical engineer, do you think you were always meant to be an electrical engineer, or do you think being an electrical engineer kind of chose you, like you just were destined to do it, kind of thing?"
Okay,
Yeah,
that's a
I
good
think it's
question.
yeah. I think it's very self-reflective of like what we do in life and like why we do it.
Well, thank you for coming on the show, Chris.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a
You're
blast.
welcome. This was fun, and I hope you decide to come back to speak again in the future.
Of course, you should definitely end all of them like that with like a little dance party thing. I'd love it. Whoop whoop.
Where can we find more of your work? If we want to support you, we want to follow you, where do we find you at?
You can find me on Instagram. It's just Chris Markle, and I don't know if I'm related to Meghan Markle. I'm just gonna throw been asked that a lot. But anyway, yeah, at Chris Markle on Instagram, or you can find me on IMDb. Just Chris Markle. You can see what I've been up to. Check out my reels on YouTube if you just type in Chris Markle Reels. And yeah, keep an eye out for things that I've been working on all throughout 2020 and before that. And yeah, yeah, I'm on the internet.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, and we'll hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. You as well. It's great chatting.
Bye.
Bye.